Going live. Alright. Hello, hello. So today's prompt is Tweedles, and I have no Tweedles at the moment. I was trying to kind of shoehorn them into the composition. I'll go ahead and back up so you guys can see the rest of Wonderland. But yeah, there's kind of like this awkward space here, and I don't mind a lot of elements overlapping to create depth as far as for like a print. But in the case of most of these prompts being stickers unto themselves, like at least that's the desired goal, I want to make sure that there's enough space around them so that way they could actually be cut out. So I tried putting one here because of how the mushrooms were kind of leaning up and back into the composition. I thought there would be a nice space here. But it doesn't quite work out as far as having both of them side by side. So I think I'm debating pushing them over here. Maybe into the woods instead. Yeah, I don't know why, but the Tweedles were never a favorite character for me. So that might be a contributing factor. I don't have any characters back here, so it kind of makes sense to put something back here, element-wise. As far as storytelling, if I remember correctly, she meets the Tweedles before she meets the caterpillar, so this might not be in chronological order as I see it, as far as moving from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, getting deeper into the story of Wonderland. I think I'm going to break that a little bit today. So, yeah, that's the consideration I have going on. It makes sense for them to be in a wooded area. So, for these guys, I'm probably sticking close to Tenniel's style. As far as my odd little guys back here. So we're going to get in and do a bit of pencil sketching. He is a little bit sideways. That might work though. Alright, so I'm going to try to zoom in. I really like the playlist from yesterday, so we're currently continuing with that. And let's just get these guys penciled in. So you guys have to let me know what your favorite version of the Tweedles are. And if you're a fan of the Tweedles, why? I want to know. I want to get a better idea as far as other viewpoints, because I don't know, they just weren't a character that resonated with me. But even so, I'm still glad to go ahead and include them, because I feel like it's important to incorporate characters that maybe you're not always a big fan of. Like, that's part of this being a challenge, is to go ahead and stretch myself and to go ahead and do something that I haven't done before. These are not characters that I originally did years ago when I was drawing some of the elements from Wonderland before. So this is kind of my opportunity to get back to that and have a pretty good idea as far as, you know, the uniqueness of other characters. And something I'm currently doing a class for game art and development, and character design is an important element, and that is probably the most interesting aspect to me currently. So by having me work on characters that had been underappreciated by me in the past is a good exercise. Even though I'm not doing something truly unique with the character design, I guess I'm leaning towards Tenniel's illustrations pretty heavily here. Even so, I think it's good to work on characters with differing body types. That's something that's become a little bit more in the public spotlight, is representing other body types, and here Tenniel did this back in the 1860s. They were a fun odd pair, weren't they? And this autofocus does not want to stay over here. This is driving me nuts. Something I want to stick with. It's just having the autofocus actually focusing where I want it to. I am definitely curious to know your thoughts on this playlist, because it seems to be the one that it's calming, but it's not going to just put me to sleep, which I find good in a I find that to be good so far. Is that coming through at all? No, because my hand's in the way. Alright, so I'm going to try to focus on our Ace of Spades back here. I probably could have had these guys a little bit further up into the woods. Now that I have all this detail on them, let's back out and see it composition-wise. Should I move these guys back, or should they stay put? I kind of would prefer them to be back a little bit. Huh. I feel like scale-wise they're fine. It's just, if I could just pick them up and move them up, maybe like a quarter of an inch back. I can even see if that's how far I'm seeing it. Maybe not even a quarter inch. Almost putting them on the same like eye level as the top of the caterpillar. Decisions. Yeah, you know what? I do think I need these guys a little bit further back. I'm sorry. It's just, I feel like they wouldn't just be standing right there, right next to this execution area. It just feels awkward. I don't know, visually wanting to give the characters their own space is where my mindset is at for it. So even though like they're only a little bit further back in the woods visually, as far as scale to them, like in relation to them, they would be further into the woods and it would be like less of an awkward thing. I don't know. You have to let me know if that makes sense. I'm sure half my ramblings sound like I'm freaking crazy. Alright, so we have the woods kind of where they were. And I believe that I adjusted the volume just a touch too high with that last track. Alright, and just doing a quick check up on Twitch, make sure everything's good. The best Tweedles are Madness Returns, nice. Yeah. You know, I haven't seen it, but I know of it, and I love that there are dark versions of Alice in Wonderland out there. So, I'm glad I hopped over here. It's good to see what's going on in Twitch. So, I'm going to move back in, and we're going to get these Tweedles a little further back in the composition, probably right about there. And this time I'm going to just do a quick double check. Make sure I'm happy with them where they're at. I have to do a special hello to Rowdy Robbie, who's joined us in the chat. And that's where the comment was coming from, the best Tweedles being in Alice the Madness Returns. Alright, so I'm going to... Let's see... I'm going to make this a little bit darker so that way you can see the pencil lines a little bit easier. And we'll make sure that our Tweedles are in a good spot back here. I think I've moved them back a little bit further. I think I've also unintentionally scaled them down a touch. I feel like that's better. They're more in the environment than just stuck in place, I feel like. It's funny what like a quarter of an inch can do in the world of miniature drawings. I wonder if I have them too far apart now. Yeah, they are a little too far apart. Alright. Let's nudge this guy just a touch closer to his brother. And whenever I have big eraser skewings, I like to get them right away. So I'm not trying to draw over the graphite. Yeah. He was just a little too far for these tiny arms to be reaching. Okay, good. The camera is focusing where it should. Yay! Alright, now we'll see how quickly I can go ahead and pop their details on. I kind of like Tenniel's version of like these pseudo like sailor inspired outfits. At least that's what they remind me of. I don't know if that's accurate. Happy little feet. I've been kind of following along with Stephanie Law, her on her Discord server, and I think she uses a 0.3 for her pencil lead, and I've got a 0.7 currently, and I'm like looking at these fine wispy lines that she does. I'm like, I think I need me a skinnier pencil, but I really love the style and the grip of this. I have another one that's like a metal body. It's just not as comfortable to hold. That's something, if you're going to be drawing a lot of tiny stuff, you want to make sure that your hand's comfortable. And random nerd fact, I spotted this pencil, purple even. Matt Mercer uses it on Critical Role, so it was a nerd moment. It's like, he's got my pencil! I mean, the amount of eraser that's in this thing is awesome, which is why I've taken to using it. I used to do a separate mechanical pencil with a click eraser. I still have the click eraser, because it's absolutely handy. It's the same style, both plastic erasers, because they seem to erase a lot cleaner than a standard rubber eraser does. Sound seems to have died. Can you hear me? Do. I will just keep rambling, because I don't know how long ago that was sent. Looks like my bitrate is good. And we'll just have to see. Alright, so I'll keep rambling to myself, potentially. Hopefully, the sound's being captured. It looks like it's being captured from my streaming software. So maybe it's an issue with Twitch. No confirmation, so I'm gonna just keep on going. Absolute worst case, the full video will be up on YouTube at 4 o'clock. Same name for that channel. They're both Red Persephone Art. And also the same on Facebook. I like to try to keep everything similar just for ease of access. And as always, you can feel free to comment. Any questions? I do go ahead and take a look at both the live stream on Twitch as well as on YouTube after I've posted. So if there's any questions or comments, I do go ahead and check up on that. And since we are starting to wind down in the challenge, like I know I don't have a lot of background filled in, but we are kind of winding down on how many prompts are left, which is probably why I have so much of a push to go ahead and start getting some of this background done. But yeah, I'm already in a process of debating like what's coming next. Like, I got such a nice curve of the pants the first time I drew it. I'm sitting here having to futz with this line. That's pretty good. I'm not even going to try to do faces. I'm going to just freehand that in with the brush. I feel like unless I get a nice crisp edge on my my pencil, which it does happen, I try to keep rotating it so I get a nice point as I work. And sometimes it gets really difficult doing faces this far back and this tiny. Pants aren't right. These need to flare out a little bit. These look like they're buttons. Okay, good. Glad to hear the sound's fixed. I don't know what happened with that then. Maybe it was network issues because my bitrate's looking good at the moment. Now we have another viewer joining us. Hello! Alright, so I have the Tweedles blocked in decently enough. I'm going to start laying down some paint. I feel like, you know, my itty bitty little spotter brush is going to be able to get into some of these details a little bit easier. So we'll leave it at that. As always, go ahead and remove pencil lines, and I actually forgot to knock down my pencil. So I'm just tapping the eraser on. If you're new, you probably haven't seen me do that, but if you're been here a bit, you see, in general, I tend to go ahead and knock down my pencil lines before I start painting, and that's especially if I'm not sure on color. Darker colors will cover up the pencil lines pretty well, and even help to imply like some detail. And that got a little blur back there. Let's adjust this tree. Alright. Mine's not as far down as I tend to go. I'm actually... Now you can see here where I have like a little bit too much graphite going on. Focus. Just going to have to tell my camera to focus. You see how much graphite is blobbed on there, and it's actually starting to blur, so that's why I like to wear jeans. I'll actually clean the eraser off on my jeans if I'm wearing them, but I'm in comfy pajama pants, so just grab a handy piece of paper, and we have a clean spot to go ahead and start lifting up that graphite again. The only thing that's slightly annoying with this particular eraser is that it will start to retract back into the pencil if I don't go ahead and twist it up again. So, minor annoyance. But it's been far handier having the pencil and the eraser together as one unit. It just tends to speed up my process, so I'm really glad I found that pencil. Probably in the last year. I really need to go ahead and take a look and see if they make it in a 0.3mm, because like that would be amazing to have some finer lead. It would have been really convenient for this piece to just have that smaller scale. Alright. Now as far as color for these Tweedles, I'm kind of feeling like deeper reds, navies, khakis, maybe even like a deep brown for like shoe leather. So I'm going to start... Where do I want to start? Let's grab red. We'll start with the deep red. And for that, I am immediately thinking of the purely maroon. I'm just going to mix it a little bit thin for this initial wash so I can go back in and add more shadows later. And as usual, gotta be careful of... I can't do this with two hands. Come on, autofocus, work with me. Alright, so you see the big blob of water on the ferrule for a moment there. So you want to make sure you clear that off, otherwise it can go ahead and blob onto your work, and you will not be a happy person when that happens. So I'm going to do these guys with a little bit of contrasting color. So that way they are not exactly the twins who dress alike. You know, basically same silhouette, same general features, but not exactly. I'm gonna do one in red and one in blue. And I think the perfect complement to that blue, where it's almost a navy tone, is the Indian Throne blue. Which you'll see that in just a moment here, but first we're just laying some initial washes. We have that little bit of red there. And then I want to do the stripes, which actually I can zoom in now that their placement's pretty good. That's as far as I can zoom in. Alright, and then I'm going to do... Let's just pull up the stream manager on my phone if the notification ever came up. And it hasn't! Yay! Thanks, Twitch. It's the silliest thing with the stream manager because it doesn't tend to pop up until like a couple minutes into the stream. It'll give me a notification like, hey, you can go ahead and watch this. It's like, okay, cool, I do want to do that. I want to be keeping an eye on my stream while I can also keep an eye on like the live video feed, because I've noticed there is a slight delay between the two. So I want to go ahead and keep an eye on what's going on live so that I can go ahead and make adjustments as needed. Alright, so we have stripes on the hats too. I think I may do the hat brim in black instead of doing another color, and that's just because at this scale, if I do it the same color as that center stripe, it's going to look awkward, I think. So I'll just do a bit of contrast there. So he's got more red on his stripes. This one will have more blue on their stripes. I probably should have done this one first before I did the other one. I'll be able to just go in with all the blue. Well, I'll go ahead and just jump over to a detail that is not connected to that area. Just in case. We want to give that plenty of time to dry. Alright, and for these little shoes, I just grabbed some sepia, or sepia, to let me know how you guys pronounce it. Is it sepia or sepia to you? I've heard both so frequently. It's one of those words that I would probably change which way I pronounce it depending on conversation. Does that make sense? Something I've noticed that I've done with a lot of words. And I go with what's in my head until there's a conversation going on, and it's like, oh, I'll do it that way. And then I've realized for me that's like not that I'm trying to copy the person, but that I'm trying to like clarify delivery of message. So I want to deliver a message the same way as my audience. If that makes sense. It's probably a weird thing to realize, but you know, stuff happens. It's weird. We have some itty bitty shoes. Now let's mix up a khaki tone. And for the khaki tone, I think I'm going to do raw sienna and buff titanium. I think that'll get me there. Let me just see what this mix looks like. I know I could do the raw sienna like on a really, really thin glaze, but I don't know. I'm not feeling it. You have to let me know if you guys prefer to see just painting on camera, or actually see like the palette mixes as I'm going about it, because I might be able to rearrange my setup a little bit to work for that. It's not something that I've really put a lot of thought into, at least not so far. Yeah, that's a good khaki color. Seems like GIF. I must have missed that one. Yeah, I didn't think about what color these socks should be. It's funny how much faster ideas for color came to me today. Maybe it's the clothes. Like in the case of the Cheshire Cat, it was just like, I don't want to do Tim Burton's, and I don't want to do the other Disney versions. I want to do something different. And it was just bothering me that that was not coming to my mind yesterday. And then here I am painting characters that weren't my favorite growing up, and it's just blam. Here's the colors. I know this. It's just funny how that works out sometimes. I'll probably move this a little bit more so it's centered. At least just a touch. I gotta figure out something for those socks though. We'll keep them going. So at this point I'm grabbing the Indanthrone Blue. It is such a pretty blue. One of those weird things where I haven't really had ultramarine or French ultramarine on my palette. Indanthrone Blue is about the same color value. No, I'm sorry. Same hue, but a desaturated value of the French ultramarine. So it's funny that I'm drawn to a darker color. I'll go ahead and start on the hats stripes first. I may need to water this slightly. Just realized I was going at it like pretty much full strength. We'll go ahead and blot it. Oh yeah, that's not watered out enough. That should be better. Sounds like a video game, like an RPG. Like flashbacks of like Final Fantasy. I never got into playing it, but I watched a bunch of my friends playing that one. I was more of a Tomb Raider fan. Tomb Raider and a couple fighting games. I did like Mortal Kombat and like Soul Calibur, Soul Blade, Soul Edge. Played some of those in arcades back when I was in the army too. Alright, so hopefully this red is dry enough for the shirt. And same that the pants are dry enough. Working in small areas like this, I've been pretty lucky. Hopefully that luck doesn't run out today. Nice thing is that raw sienna shouldn't go green when it's mixed with the blue. That's what I've read with Jane Blundell's color experiments. So that's part of the reason why I like having raw sienna on my palette, even though quinacridone gold is such a similar value. And a similar hue too. Alright, now I'm going to add just a touch more blue at the top of the hat. I'll start conveying form since that already looks a little dry. We'll see how that goes. I feel like the sepia reads dark enough here that I'm going to use that for the detail on the tie. I'm going to use that for some of the details. I also want to outline the edge of these collars. I feel like they would just be like a starched white collar, nothing fancy. I'm getting the tiniest bit of some buff titanium just to try to give these collars a little bit of an outline. I know, realistically, you wouldn't expect to see a lot of detail for characters that are this far back in a composition, but for sake of this being, at least in theory, a potential sticker set later, I have to see if I can noodle around with my software and make SVG files. That's not something that I've had practice in. I've been terrible with trying to do vector work, and it might just be from the timing. Just at the time I wasn't able to really focus on it, and maybe now it'll be a little bit easier, so we'll go ahead and let that buff titanium dry a bit before we move on to adding the tie and the other details. Let's see, we can do... Yeah, I'm thinking the hat brim, the tie, and the buttons on the pants are all going to be sepia, so I'm kind of leaving that alone for right now. Really, it comes down to figuring out the socks. I guess I could blot in a skin tone or do some hair. We're doing pretty good on time. I might actually have a little bit of time to jump over onto other elements too. In the meantime, while I'm still figuring out the sock color, I'm gonna grab a touch more of the purely maroon. So that should be dried down pretty well, and we can start adding a little bit of shading, conveying some form here. I'm not really going off of the idea of like a specific light source this far back, because the woods could be obfuscating a lot of the light coming from this beachy area off to the left. I've gone ahead and wet my brush. I can soften these edges a little bit. I feel like they went just a touch darker than I wanted. You know, while I'm playing with this purely maroon, I should do another wash on our curtains and see if I can adjust that edge. Oh, and that's a big blur. Alright. Come on, cooperate with me. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to just back up the zoom just a touch. I like to kind of warn you before I'm moving the camera. Alright, and then we're coming down to the keyhole area. I still need to do the yellow wash here, but one thing is, like, I really want this edge to be more of like a lost edge in that curtain. I was thinking, just because I have this puddle here going, let's try to soften that edge. It's just one of those washes. It was a little bit drier than I hoped when I was working on it. I've tried to glaze it a little bit, try to correct. It hasn't softened quite as much as I'd like. Now it's really wet, and I'm going back and picking up our puddle. Right up to the edge. Soften that edge. That should smooth it out pretty good. Actually, this could have been a little bit stronger down here and angled a little bit. This angle is a little bit off. It should be coming back further where the bottom curtain is gathered. Silly little things. Let's see how that dries. So, that's one thing you'll probably see a little bit more in Wonderland as we're getting close to the last 9 days now. Will be where I'm getting to with a lot of these details coming together. I could probably have popped another wash onto our rabbit here. Go ahead and darken this lower half a bit. The little bit of contrast on the vest. Indicate some form. Real dry. Soften that edge. Aim for a bit. As my chair decides to squeak loudly. Thank you, chair. That's always great for polite company. Right, so we'll get back to here to our Tweedles. So we'll zoom back in. And gave him a moment to go ahead and dry a little bit. I still don't know what color I want these socks. So we'll go ahead and lay in some detail. Do a gentle wash with the Indanthrone blue and start indicating some form over here. That is like the perfect strength. That's what I wanted. And then a touch of deeper blue. I forgot to do that on the red, just to help convey that these are round forms coming forward for their heads, well, for their hats. Now I am thinning out a touch of sepia. I'm going to use that for the pants because that mixture of buff titanium and raw sienna really isn't going to get much darker than it already is. So it's not very helpful for using it for a shadow tone, which is fine. Sepia is a nice warm-ish tone compared to neutral tint or Payne's Gray. So sticking with the going light. I've somehow picked up a tiny little fuzzy. No fuzzies. I don't know if my internal monologue is amusing to you guys. I hope so. It keeps me entertained at least. Alright, and yeah, since those areas are probably still a little bit damp, I'm going to go in with a stronger mix of sepia now. And we can go ahead and start putting in those other details because the buff titanium on the shirts should be pretty dry. We can go ahead and do a hat brim. Probably should grab my spotter brush for this. Or at the very least my reading glasses because I'm a little further away from you, from the work than you guys are from the camera. Oh wow. I'm going to try to be good and get this stream stopped in the next 10 minutes. That means I need to figure out the color of these socks pretty soon. Cute little ties. Today I've been doing all the detail work with the Velvet Touch round one. Probably could have done these buttons a lot smaller, though. These probably should have been done with the spotter. I'm okay with it. Alright, so I have all of that done. Anything on the faces, though, I'm bringing that spotter in. Just flat out, not trying to go there. Let's see. I really want to add that little bit of red shadow on the hats. I'm just grabbing a little bit more of the purely maroon and just slightly dotting that in up at the top. I'm gonna go with... I don't know, I'm debating a hair color. I probably should wait until the hat brim's a little drier. It's really like socks, face, hands. Those are about the only things really left here. I'm gonna thin out a bit of quinacridone burnt orange. When you use it in a really thin wash, it's decent at being like a pale flesh tone, and since these guys aren't very close to us, I'm not going to be laying in a ton of shading or anything. I'm just going to use that to help indicate that these guys have skin. Unlike our queen here, who has the palest of pale skin. I figure that's fairly accurate to historic reports of the aristocracy. They try to have the palest skin possible. Pale skin used to be a status symbol. Meant you were rich and didn't have to work in the fields, and now we have crazy people trying to get tans. Alright, so we have some fairly pale people back here. Those washes will probably take a little bit to dry. So let's see. Which pretty much only leaves me socks that I'll be able to do right now. Unless I could go dry enough with the hair. I think I'm just going to do kind of like a dark brown for the hair. And since I have a nice little puddle of the quinacridone burnt orange and the indanthrone blue over here, those are a great neutralizing pair. I'm just going to imply a little bit, and this color is so dry, it probably won't get picked up in this wash. And we'll leave that alone for a moment. Maybe I should go ahead and jump down to our Mad Hatter. I realized I left the color so dim for most of the stream. Sorry about that. We'll tweak the ISO. I'm seeing how far I can push it. What am I doing? Oh, I'm adjusting the wrong setting. Yeah, that washes it out. That's not what I want. We'll stick with the 800 for the ISO. And I'm going to adjust this. I think this is my aperture setting, actually. No, it's my shutter speed that I'm adjusting now. Which is kind of a funny thought when you're thinking of like continuous video streaming instead of an image. Like a photo being snapped. Man, I don't know what to do for these socks. You know what? I know what I'm doing with these socks. We're just gonna flip these around. I'm grabbing a little bit more indanthrone blue. He gets blue socks. And our blue guy gets red socks. Why not? It's such a silly little thing. But since I can't do any details on the face, And back to the purely maroon. It has been such a wonderful shadow color. And as far as just in general with the colors on my palette, they're probably always going to be a work in progress, but some of these are because of some urban sketchers. Some of these are because of artists like Jane Blundell, who's done some amazing, amazing color work. I keep trying to keep my autofocus set on the Executioner card there. That way, while I'm moving in and out of working on the Tweedles, it should be staying in focus, and I find that it keeps not staying in focus, which is driving me nuts. Alright, so I'm still waiting for the wash on the faces to dry. Since we only have like 2 minutes left, that's probably I'm probably just not going to have faces on these guys today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap in little details here and there. Like our Cheshire Cat, who went very cotton candy colored by the end of things. Which I do actually want to soften this little edge here on the paw. Something about that paw was just too dark and I didn't like it. I'm trying to find the color. I'll deposit that up here on the eye, which could use a little more color. And it would help to be in frame for any of that. There's our Cheshire Cat from yesterday. That video is already posted up on YouTube as well as here. With the tier that I have for Twitch streaming, it only saves my videos for 2 weeks. So after the 14 days, the blip, it's gone. So there's already videos from this series that are no longer available on Twitch. And what I can do about that is absolutely nothing for now. My channel's not old enough and doesn't have enough followers to get to that next tier. And that's just for now. And so, you know, anytime that you want to catch what's going on with the rest of the series, that's always on YouTube. YouTube's not going to just take my stuff down. I don't have a custom channel URL, which is why I don't have that anywhere where I can't name the link at the moment. That's also building. All of this is building. I've only had these channels for less than a month, basically a day or two before I started the live streaming. So it's been an interesting work in progress as I'm building towards that. But it's been a fun adventure so far. Alright, so at this point, I think that's as much puttering around as I can do to keep this relatively on schedule. And then for tomorrow's prompt, it is the Knave of Hearts. So we should see a bit more development going on here, because I would like to have the Knave of Hearts being led to the Executioner block, because he is the one who stole the tarts. So getting some justice in Wonderland. Well, it's been a lot of fun today. And, you know, as always, thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait till tomorrow's stream, and hopefully I have time ahead of the stream to be blocking in the last couple faces, because that is my biggest linchpin for the moment of working more of this background out, because I want to do some rather chaotic splashes with paint, and just to add a little bit more to the randomness and chaos that I feel is perfect for Wonderland. So once I know where a couple more faces are, I'll be able to go ahead and protect those areas and get those splashes put in. And then we can really see the background taking shape. That might actually be what I do for the 30th. Because the 30th prompt is your choice. And my choice would be to try to finish this, if any areas are not finished by then. So definitely excited and looking forward to that. And thanks again for joining me. And keep painting.